Hello and welcome to the Armenian News Network Groong Week in Review. This show was recorded on May 22, 2023. I'm Asbed Bedrossian, together here with Hovik Manucharyan, and here are the major topics we'll touch on today. The pace of the Armenian-Azerbaijani negotiations has accelerated significantly in the past month. Why? Why now? And who does it benefit the most? That's our first topic. Then we'll talk about why the government and people of Artsakh are showing a lot of signs of activity as a result of Pashinyan's statements in the past 10 days. To discuss these issues, we have with us Tevan Poghosyan, who is president of the International Center for Human Development. Mr. Poghosyan was an MP in the National Assembly between 2012 and 2017 from the Heritage Party. From 1997 to 1999, he served as the Nagorno-Karabakh Public Affairs Office Director in Washington, D.C. Hello and welcome to the show, Tevan.
Hello, Tevan.
Thank you very much, Asbed and Hovik, for invitation. It's great to be again with you.
Likewise. After several weeks of accelerated negotiations in various capitals of the world, some of which are at war with each other, Nikol Pashinyan finally said what Aliyev wanted him to say. Pashinyan said that he recognizes Artsakh as part of Azerbaijan. Again, Pashinyan said that Artsakh is Azerbaijan. After reaffirming that Azerbaijan is continuing a policy of ethnic cleansing and genocide in Artsakh, he said with a straight face that Armenia is moving closer to signing a so-called peace deal that hands away Artsakh and the so-called enclaves to Aliyev. Pashinyan said it was unlikely that the document would be signed next week in Moscow, but did not exclude that it could be signed in Chisinau on June 1st or in Belgium in July. So let's backtrack to the events of last week that culminated with these brazen announcements today and understand where to go next, if we can. So it begins with this negotiations carousel that has been happening over the past month. To recap, less than a month ago, we read that there would be a foreign ministerial meeting in Moscow. But within a couple of days of those announcements, Arat Mirzoyan and Ceyhun Bayramov were in Washington, D.C., meeting bilaterally and trilaterally with Blinken. The week following that, Pashinyan and Aliyev met in Brussels, and Charles Michel announced mutual recognition of each other's countries in their internationally recognized square footage. This past weekend, Mirzoyan and Bayramov were in Moscow, this time meeting under the auspices of Sergei Lavrov's hosting. And now a Pashinyan and Aliyev summit in Moscow is announced on May 25. There are even more meetings planned, some as early as June 1st in Chisinau, and then Brussels later in the summer, and then Grenada in fall. Tevan, before covering Pashinyan's audacious statement, what is the point of all this platform hopping in this negotiations process? Is it all choreographed or coordinated, or is this more of like a struggle between different powers, in your opinion?
I think we are now living maybe in reality, World War III, but which is not in a very open, active shooting part, much more on still political and other way of competition, economic, and only in Ukraine maybe the real fight is going on. And I think the part of this fight for the Caucasus or influence of the Caucasus is great. And that's why all these kind of invitations and possibilities for negotiations, I think it's a real in the interest of the countries who are initiating it. I don't think that America or Brussels are coordinating with Russia, and I don't think that Russia would be coordinating with them. And there is a strong competition. But whoever would be the head of the Armenia or Azerbaijan definitely would be accepting both invitations. Accepting invitation and discussing content and going finally is totally three different things. I think they are in invitations, visiting various places. They are content over which they perfectly understand the interest of the sites, but the competition would be much stronger, and whatever would be in reality is totally different. I don't think so that Azerbaijan is agreed to have Armenia as a state near him. That's why I think They perfectly learn the words of Montemelkonian much better than Armenian leadership. And they perfectly knows if Armenians will lose Artsakh, it will be the turn of the Armenian statehood history last page. Yeah, definitely they will be going for this. That's why I do believe that our Azerbaijan will not finally sign anything, or if it would be signed, it would be signature very close to the November 9 ceasefire or 1994 May 12 ceasefire, when Azerbaijan never would be respecting its signature on the paper. And they're still dreaming about Zangezur corridor, Western Arda, Azerbaijan. Aliyev said that he would even come and take up Yerevan. That's why, guys, I don't know what is the hope for Nikol Pashinyan or today's ruling government that something would be respecting, or there would be any guarantor of, like last month, he has been saying that with the situation in the world, there is no leader who can even predict what would happen in a 1 month's time. And today he has been saying, there are some countries who are ready to take the role of guarantors. Are you kidding me? Come on. That's why I think our biggest problem is not with the ruling government. For more than 20 years or even earlier, there have been a lot of predictions of today's situation. The problem is that Armenian nation should revive as a nation to understanding that if it's dreaming about, or if we have a national dream about strong statehood, which include Artsakh Republic and the Republic of Armenia as a one Hayastan.
I have to ask this, even though it sounds redundant to me or rhetorical. To many observers, the 86,000 square hundred kilometer language has been code for Pashinyan telling Aliyev Artsakh is Azerbaijan. Tevan, what is your take?
First of all, I've been the one who has been starting from November 2020 saying that this ruling government is wash up their hands from Artsakh, and they are not taking care, and they are thinking only about keeping their power, and they give up on Artsakh at all. Now, what the difference in amounts, in a digits or something like this? Have been doing it for a very, very long time. Actually, if you will be seriously discussing all this, the biggest lesson is following. After 2018, when he started to fight with the many, many heroes of Artsakh war, pretending it or presenting it as a fight for corruption, but never changing his behavior to his team in the corruption, I think this was the first sign that in reality this fighting against Karabakh by taking out Karabakh, or his dream was take out Karabakh from the Armenian political life. That Karabakh or Artsakh issue never would be decisive element of Armenian statehood existence and Armenian political agenda. So like for 30 years, Artsakh has been, our Artsakh issue has been always permanently defining all elections, all major programs, all projects, and so many things as a political Armenian agenda. Is now taking out it. That
Right.
from now on, what it would be been, who in Armenia would be running what? First of all, we need to keep up Armenia for that, but Armenia would not be existing because Artsakh is lost. Now, out of this, we need to perfectly understand that everything is clear with that ruling party or that team. Why we discussing it anymore? Why we trying to support their artificial fake agenda, Armenian? I think instead of that, now need to discuss what maybe Armenia as a nation, diaspora Armenians here, in Artsakh need to do for preserving Artsakh Armenian and preserving this one? First of all, okay, we need to get rid of this so-called representative of Armenians. Maybe it's not possible technically now. Nation is not ready, is not nation is psychologically broke, country is fully failed. But then maybe we need to following the examples of political parties, that each political party, each group, each NGO, I don't know, each anything, make a statement to the world. Guys, whatever the guy would sign, please don't hope that it would be respected by Armenian nation. Make that kind of a statement and say that this is for you, US, White House, I don't know, UK, Westminster or whatever there is, your address, Kremlin, Brussels, and all the other places. It would never be respected by Armenian nation. Said that all the world will understand that this guy is not representing Armenian nation. Okay, you are not able to kick them off because there is always like maybe 5,000 Armenian policemen who would be defending their own money, pocket, stomach, and I don't know what. And he was able to find all of them near each other and keep him near himself. Because in other way, his security would shoot him first if they would be national.
And I believe there's some movement about to have a legal way to do this.
I think legal way in Armenia is the say like we choose the system of democracy to develop, which never been ready for the nation. I think long problem with the statehoodness, even in the Middle Ages, brought up that we didn't pass the historical development of the statehoodness, which EU, European countries, or many other nation state has been passing with all the processes. That's why we immediately jump in something which never been in us. On the value system, it's not ours. Like democracy, whenever you're saying this, is like he's giving interview and saying that, oh, okay, yes, it's in our pre-electoral program. And what? Who is reading? Can you imagine, like, I don't know, in US, for example, Biden would say that, yeah, I write a nice point in my pre-electoral things, but who is reading? Don't care, guys. Forget about this.
It seems like there are some serious gaps between the Russian and Western platforms trying to broker this so-called peace in the South Caucasus. And I'm actually fairly keen on saying so-called peace because even Pashinyan has said that whatever this document is that he will eventually sign is not going to guarantee nonviolence, is not guarantee that Azerbaijan is not going to attack. So personally, I do not understand at all why they continue calling it a peace treaty if the next day there will be violence, there will be soldiers killed and stuff.
I think when he's saying peace, he's not meaning peace about Armenia. He's meaning there's only maybe peace in his family and so-called peace for preserving his position. But there is no peace in Armenian nation. There is no peace in any Armenian family. There is no peace in any Armenian soil. And if it's not peace in my soul, in my consciousness, in my subconsciousness, it's in my family, what kind of a peace I mean? Azerbaijan is not looking peace with me at all.
Yeah, I also think that this whole language of peace treaty is just a way to mollify and put people to sleep and think that good things are happening. It's just public relations. But back to our point, Tevan, Lavrov previously said in an interview that the West is trying to wrest Armenia away from Russia. While Mirzoyan was in Moscow last week, Lavrov stipulated that Russia has very important interests in the South Caucasus and said he is certain that Russia's allies understand that. Today, Pashinyan, while denying Lavrov's assertion, stated that leaving CSTO is not out of the Armenian agenda, and CSTO membership has been a liability in Armenia's procurement of weapons. We have discussed that the interests of the West in the so-called peace between Armenia and Azerbaijan is primarily to displace Russia from the South Caucasus. Yes. Russia is at war with the West, so it seems there's a competition between who will be the mediator in the South Caucasus.
I don't think that even competition, because competition is maybe nice word. It's a struggle, open struggle, which could turn one day even in hot struggle. I'll not be amazed with this because, yeah, see, like between all these negotiation dates, yes, which has been Hovik previously mentioning, we forget about May 28th. Are you sure what would happen in the Turkish election? How it will reflect? I don't know in reality, but there are various scenarios. How would be Israel-Iran relationship developing? Western Iran, and so on. That's why, and no one knows what is the end of, you can call it Ukraine-Russia confrontation or war, but also the war in Ukraine between the West and Russia.
So in light of what you are saying, is the intensification of the process of these negotiations where we're seeing absolutely zero concessions on the part of Azerbaijan in Armenia's interests?
Yeah, but it's like, I don't know how many times I need to repeat. The lost government will be bringing no new losses for Armenia. Պարտված իշխանությունը բերելու է միայն նոր պարտություններ. That's all. That will be. So, like, I think you, both of you, Asbed, you are from the society which has very deep institutionalized knowledge on negotiation processes. It's given in the many universities, in academia, in 1,000 books, even in schools, even in the workplaces. You are coming from society when negotiations appreciated much higher than use of power. And you always has been saying, by negotiations, we can reach more because we can find out if our interests are clashing or maybe they are going parallel and we're not filling. Positions and interests should be different. Now, with all of that, in all the academies in all places, we've been taught that the last negotiator should be changed because at the table, his batna is very, very low. It's like minus, it's not even zero. And without batna getting to the table of negotiation, it's just another loss. It's another minus for any interest you present. I don't know how many times it says. That's why let's not be amazed that with each negotiation circle, we're just only losing and losing. And it would continue until we have this lost government.
I agree with you. I think that the problem is the negotiators on our side. What do you make of all these messages that Lavrov has been sending over the past weekend when Mirzoyan and Bayramov were in Moscow?
I think Lavrov not anymore speaking with Mirzoyan or maybe Pashinyan. Lavrov is trying to send the messages to Armenian nation and maybe international community. As he's saying that West is trying to enter blah, blah, blah. I think his communication with them, not with us. This is unfortunate. Because even if they say that we will be continuing our discussion with Armenian allies, we soon. Do you think that Russia don't have real information who are these guys? Russian special secret informations when Mirzoyan went to kindergarten, how he has behaved, when he went to school, what school has been studied, with whom he has. I think the Russian special services have that information. I think the same way as like US has all that information. And that, like, if they perfectly knows who you are, they having your role, photo, psychology, and everything as a human stuff. They definitely, whatever he's speaking publicly, it's not for him. That's why, except Lavrov's words, as a maximum message to general Armenian and the world.
Well, when Lavrov said that Russia has very serious interests in the South Caucasus, and that an agreement would be signed only on the basis of the November 2028 trilateral agreement between Russia, Azerbaijan, and Armenia, what I was hearing him say is that all these negotiations that are happening in Brussels, Washington, etc., may yield some rapprochement in the points of view, but ultimately it's going to be Russia that's going to broker this peace, or it's not going to happen.
Definitely. Who are the forces on the ground? Russian peacekeepers. Don't forget, whatever they would be broker. That's why I'm saying it. He just nicely said to international community, guys, take care, take your time, do like this. So like everyone has been saying, Almaty agreement, la la la, but Lavrov in the last his part mentioned Karabakh as a separate element. Yeah, he said that any document should provide security to Karabakh and border of Armenia and Azerbaijan. He mentioned Karabakh separately. And now compare the statement of, who is this Brussels guys, Michel?
Charles Michel.
Or the same with Blinken. Blinken said that we need to say about like Armenians, minority security, blah, 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 but no, not mentioned. And near him is speaking, doesn't matter we like him or not, but like previous US co-chair, and saying that Karabakh has a right for the self-determination. When during his tenure of being Minsk co-chairs, no one loved him in Armenia, but he now saying much more pro-Armenian position than the Armenian government.
One of the topics mentioned out of Brussels was that there is some progress in quote unquote unblocking transportation, as they say, in the region. In reality, the unblocking is only about linking Azerbaijan and Nakhichevan. We did not hear Aliyev say the C word this time, corridor, after Brussels, but so it seems this point eluded media and political scrutiny, while Arad Mirzoyan claimed this to be an achievement. Since this railway issue progress was achieved in Brussels, it's unlikely that it would preserve the Russian FSB as an overseer of the transit process, as stipulated in the November 2020 trilateral ceasefire agreement, right? In fact, in the past, Pashinyan has talked about mutually agreeable international organizations, some vague notion of that could take care of customs functions on the corridor. Vahan Kerobian this week explained in more detail that the company in question that is being considered for this role is a Swiss company called SGS, which has previously filled a similar role in Abkhazia. So I wanted to ask, what benefit do you see from this railway? And is Armenia just paying hundreds of millions of dollars in order to connect Azerbaijan with Nakhichevan without getting much in return? Or is there some substantial benefit that Armenia can get? And I'm sorry if this is a naive question to you, but I have to ask it for our listeners.
No, thank you for the question. In reality, you make me maybe physically smile, but loudly laughing. Because I think you also perfectly understanding the whole cynicism of this. The only person or one who could believe to this could be the one who don't know Azeris and who don't know Turks and who don't know the animosity between Turks, Armenians, and Azeris. And then let's speak about railroad or communication. And that's why Aliyev is saying corridor and not using corridor for today. They singing. Yes, he said totally differently way. So that, okay, communication, but Azerbaijanis need to return back to their homes, which meaning that the whole that territories were used, I'm understanding that should be corridor, there'll be much more majority Azerbaijani population than Armenia. Guys, I think in reality, with this whole story of railroad, the best point for you of your question was the following: would Armenia have a benefit? To benefit from anything on the road, you need to produce first of all that. Now, can you tell me what I will be producing that would put in the cargo and send them by railroad to somewhere? In other way, it would be the technical tariff price. Let's hypothetically imagine Azerbaijan is saying, okay, you have that 42 kilometers. Guys, 42 kilometers per 1 ton is, I don't know, $100. Get your $4,200 and go ahead. Is it the benefit of that railroad? In other way, what we're producing to put as a stuff on that railroad to send somewhere out for, until we will not having this production and security over the whole world road of that to getting there. But from Nakhichevan to Azerbaijan, this is Armenia. But Nakhichevan, Azerbaijan is an Azerbaijan. And if cargo left Yerevan, went to Nakhichevan, passed through Meghri and went to Azerbaijan, is going much longer by Azerbaijani territory. And even hypothetically, if I will be saying that, guys, I'm benefiting because there is a railroad, I'll be paying the same transit money to Azerbaijan. Such a great benefit from Armenian nation. Perfect. I don't know how to say that. Great. Perfect ideas that were.
Also, despite not explicitly mentioning the word corridor, as you said, does the involvement of a Swiss company to perform the customs functions rule in any way rule out the possibility of Azerbaijan or Turkey considering or giving any like extraterritorial status to this corridor?
It's already extraterritorial. So like before you giving someone else action, you need to set it what kind of a documents I have signed. We just has been speaking in the previous question. Lavrov said that anything should be based on the November 9 trilateral agreement. Open up 9 trilateral agreement, point 9. Armenia is providing communication.
Unfettered, yeah.
From Nakhichevan to Azerbaijan or Azerbaijan to Nakhichevan under the control of Russian border guards services. That's all. Full stop. Okay, let's tomorrow so that Swiss guys come and stand up. Well, would you Russia give up on this point? The maximum what it should be, it would be a software from that Swiss company and something maybe in the computers for this marketing, this custom tariffs or banking system. But who would be standing in the corridor and controlling it? That's why, again, I'm saying that if even from Nakhichevan entering to Meghri, and from Meghri going, exiting to Azerbaijan, any good, if it's Armenian good, I'm paying much more money to Azerbaijan. If it's totally other goods, guys, again, Azerbaijan is benefiting for the long transit way. That's why, being honest, I think it's like what is very interesting point. In Armenian society, everyone is presenting that it has been Russian idea. Russia pushed for this. But now I'm seeing that West even is much more interesting in the Zangezur corridor than Russia. I didn't notice that Russia would be speaking too much about this. They may, about referring to that point 9, even they already have signed that. Demarcation, delimitation, I don't know, some trade agreements, blah, blah, blah. But if it's West interest is much stronger there, what does it mean? Is this West is looking for cooperating with Russia here to close their eyes on the same way as they buying so-called Azerbaijani gas, but perfectly knows that it's Russian gas getting to Azerbaijan. If it's political decision, then there is no benefits. Political decisions never about benefits. Political decision is about political message. But if it's West is much more interesting in the Zionist corridor, then I have suspicion why is Turkey and Azerbaijan considering that this is their biggest victory.
Tevan, speaking about railways, I would like to also talk about a major deal that was signed this week between Russia and Iran on establishing another railway. And it's not entirely directly related to us, but it's the regional issue. So Russia will provide 1.6 billion financing to build a 160-kilometer railway inside Iran, connecting Rasht on the Caspian Sea and the Iranian city of Astara, which is on the border of Azerbaijan. And this will be the last missing link to create a contiguous railway from India to Russia through Iran and Azerbaijan. This railway is only one of the components of the international north-south transport corridor INSTIC. Vladimir Putin, hailed this with Raisi as a major deal. Some Russian analysts say it's a deal of the century, and it allows Russia to bypass the Suez Canal. Conspicuously, Azerbaijan is missing, at least from the deal, but there is this little segment that's left between the Iranian city of Astara and the Azerbaijani city of Astara, which is, there are two eponymous cities that are across the border, and that is left to Azerbaijan. I want to ask, do you believe that if Russia was able to secure this railway, how big of a deal is it regionally, globally? And what are some of the geopolitical calculations worldwide that are going on? Many wars have been fought over trade. Do you believe that this is a component again of this World War III, as you say, or may I actually have a peaceful role in the world?
So, like, if that railroad deal would finally come to the life, it's mean Russia won Ukraine war, and Russia beat the West in the Caucasus. Because whatever you describe as a scenario, if it's Russia, Iran, India communication connection, that it's been the West lost to Iran, the West lost to Russia, West lost to the situation in the region. Because I think we are starting our discussion from the point of view that everyone is perfectly understanding that West is fighting to kick out Russia from this region. Now, Russia would be paying 1.6 billion without ever securing and knowing perfectly that they would be really getting a return of this investment just for nothing, losing to the South Caucasus. I think we need to be really serious on this part. See, like now there is a big discussion about India, Armenia, rapprochement or warming out or something like this. Half of Armenian experts saying that the India is a puppet of West. Half of Armenian experts saying that India is a puppet of Russia. No one is really understanding that India could be a separate and serious player already in the world or something like this. But again, if it's India, Iran, and Russia communication, then we need to perfectly understand where is West would be supporting India on this, how the West would be supporting Iran, or how the West would be supporting Russia. If not, then what various other confrontations could come. Now, with all that north-south communications, which actually in reality, there's only one place in the world when north-south is really working. Very funny, but it's Mexico, US, Canada. I don't know any other North-South cooperation working. If that cooperation is coming, then we can say that Armenia is again lost, because in a previous question, you have been asking what Armenia would get as a benefit from East-West. East-West meaning Turkey, Azerbaijan, for Armenia. But still, like North-South communication would be much better and interesting. No one is going to ask support on East-West, and in the North-South, we have been hoping that it should be India, Iran, Armenia, maybe Georgia, Black Sea, and so on. But you now already described the railroad communication, where Armenia again bypassed from the regional window. And now, if something bypassing me, should I be interested in a geopolitical interest of the others gaining it? When we will be learning that,
especially when it's works against you, it works against our critical.
Yeah, and I think it's time really that we will start to really understanding that each project we need to through kind of a squeeze through our prism of interest, and be and our thinking should be only about where is our benefit. If it would be hitting me, then I need to be such a country to prevent it. So like whenever Israel is doing sometimes preventive strikes, they're saying we learned something would be growing there higher, and that's why we prefer preventively strike. If we're perfectly understanding that kind of a road would be hitting us, then guys, I wish Armenia be strong enough not to allow that to be bypassed, this whole picture. But if we bypassed, then we have been discussing this or not. We already bypassed. We bypassed by everything, and I don't say that. Now our real about Artsakh.
I'm going to come back to domestic politics in Armenia a little bit. On Saturday, the 20th, 2 days ago, over 5,000 people marched near the Armenian border near the Kornidzor bridge. They were demanding that the Armenian government and people wake up and fight for our country and remove border checkpoints between two Armenian states, Armenia and Artsakh. A similar march was conducted by opposition parties in Artsakh. Hovik, you were at the rally on Saturday personally. Can you give us a first-hand report from that event?
Yeah, I'll be very quick in that it was a very significant turnout. I counted hundreds of cars and buses. I have never seen such a huge contrast between the desires of people on the ground and the actions of a government that is supposed to represent those people. And it was clear to me one more time that the majority of Armenians will not, allow for Artsakh to be betrayed. One of the points raised during the speeches at that rally was that there seems to be an effort afoot to collect signatures for perhaps a constitutional amendment.
Would that be without the government's approval?
Well, actually, that's what I wanted to ask Tevan, because I don't know the Armenian constitution enough. So I know that there's a process of collecting signatures, but would it be possible for the people directly to bring a question of referendum without the approval of Alen Simonyan in parliament?
Yeah, there is such an element over which is possible to reach, that if you're collecting about more than 500,000 signatures, then it's obliged to go to the constitutional court to put it on referendum. But constitutional court is also belongs to today's ruling party. Parliament is also, and everyone is also. That's why I don't think so that that kind of a legal solution is available. I don't believe in any political and legal solution in Armenia, unfortunately. So like the institutions and humans who need to make it into life. Yeah, like I'm kind of a law enforcing agencies. If law enforcing agencies are not enforcing the real law, I'm members of the parliament and I'm not respecting the law. I'm I don't know, all other ones are not doing. I don't believe in it that it could really help, but having so many signatures is a nice message, as I said, to international community and everyone, that guys, we are not going to accept any documents that it will be signed. Don't later on sell it to me as, wow, Armenia signed the peace deal. No, guys, I'm not accepting peace deal by this guy. And tell to everyone that that's all, because I really don't, so like, you can notice that for a very long time, I'm not trying to speak to say, because in reality, everything is already said. Everything is already repeated thousands times. The messages for 2 years, one after one, similar, and it's no reaction. So I don't know. In reality, I don't have any recipe how to work up.
Tevan, you said that you don't believe that there's a political solution to the current situation inside Armenia.
I mean, political based on the legal procedures. Like,
understood.
In the parliament, you can initiate vote of non-confidence, or you tomorrow would write the letters and say that let's do something like this. Political, I mean.
Thank you. I was wondering what measures you were talking about.
No, I mean like legal or political, by meaning that we're doing it on the, like tomorrow all the political institutions will say that we requiring resignation. Similar questions was in 2021 when all institutions require resignation. Have you noticed any resignation?
Can't say that I have.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah. So far, it seems like you can spit on the Armenian people and not have to resign.
This is the problem. I don't know what we. Whenever you're saying that, guys, you need to have a political responsibility, just say, who is caring? Who is the one who is reading the electoral program? Forget about this. It has been nice wording. We just put it there. The occupation of Hadut and Shushi. Karabakh Armenians have the right of self-determination.
Let's move to the internal politics in Artsakh. There are political developments in Artsakh that raise concern among analysts and ourselves as well. Since Samuel Babayan returned to Artsakh late last year, he has been actively holding meetings with supporters and publicly demanding that Arayik Harutyunyan appoint him as state minister. On Monday, Babayan held a rally in Stepanakert issuing a similar demand, where only a few hundred people showed up, and maybe higher estimates could put the count of attendees in the thousands, but still, it's definitely not overwhelming. But despite the weak turnout, however, Speaker of Artsakh Parliament Artur Tomasyan, in response to Babayan's demands, called on President Arayik Harutyunyan to either resign or call for a referendum of confidence on himself, and asked to set up a state defense commission or a committee that included Ruben Vartanyan and Samvel Babayan. And Babayan accepted Tomasyan's call, saying he'd agreed to rule Artsakh as part of a state defense commission. And Ruben Vartanyan, on the other hand, politely declined, saying right now is not the time for that. Also, Ruben Vartanyan, after stepping down, has been involved in a number of field traffic activities and has recently created a new platform to continue struggling for Artsakh called the Front for the Security and Development of Nagorno-Karabakh. This platform involves all political parties in Artsakh. Tevan, what is your analysis of the various movements in the politics of Artsakh Republic? It seems like the time for infighting is not right now. So what's going on there? What are the motivations of the different players? If you can say anything about that.
Artsakh internal politics has been always a reflection of Armenian internal politics. That's all. I think it's orchestrated by Nikol Pashinyan also.
So you believe Samuel Babayan's voyage to Artsakh was
like Samuel Babayan recently could really, from his heart, believe in his action. The same way as Ruben Vartanyan, the same way as Artur Thomasan, the same way as everyone. But this is the people's last try. Okay, Samuel Babayan has initiated 1,000 people. Ruben Vartanyan initiated, I don't know, maybe 5,000 people. Artur Thomasan is initiating the parliament or something like this. But finally, it will be coming into the really one central spot, and one that central spot is Yerevan. If Yerevan is not supporting, what these people would be doing? What is their resources? It's perfect and nice to say that we will never give up. Yes, Artsakhi people like this, but never giving up. By what? Do you think that, for example, if Armenian government or Armenian whole nation would not support Artsakh back in 1991, starting from 1988, we would have the victory of 1994, and we would have another 30 years of Artsakh statehoodness and strong Armenian statehoodness. Before going and saying that what is internally in Artsakh, you need to say that the whole influence is coming from here. See, like ruling government is saying, all these guys need to remember who is paying their salary, or blah, blah, blah. Or he's saying that they never get me right. Whatever I'm saying, they understand me wrong. Artsakh, all internal issues is one. Call for the whole Armenian nation. Guys, don't give up on us. Let's support, let's fight together. That's all. Don't play the other part.
Okay, Tevan, you have been around since the 90s, so you probably have a very good history on this. What would the State Defense Commission do that the government of Artsakh cannot do? Why would Artsakh Speaker Tovmasyan suddenly demand this resignation at this moment in time?
I think, I don't know what is about the resignation and something like this. Sometimes it's happening that when people are really living for more than 2 years without any predictable future psychological situation and psychological catastrophe, what's going on in Karabakh could come. But I've been the one who has been in a support even during 44 days. And you can find in my few interviews and some statements and calls that, guys, it's time to get from archives all the documents and try to rebuild a defense committee management system in Artsakh, because it's really helped to win the war during 90 to 90. The system is good, but it's always depend on who would be appointed there.
Yeah,
it has been a team whom the people trust and run, and together with the very small government, which would be easy to communicate on the very quick, effective, on time, online kind of activities to do the proper work. And I will tell you that the model has been chosen once by Artsakh as for institutional modeling during the World War II from the Soviet Union, which allowed, after the first element of the losses, when Germans reach to Moscow, at least, or 40 kilometers to Moscow. Later on, they've been able to beat and free their homelands and even reach Berlin. Now, I wouldn't be trying to say that, let me judge the historical element of this, but this is a system which allowing properly manage at the catastrophe and war. And I do believe that even in US, there is some elements of this. Maybe it wouldn't be called defense committee element, but it would be depending when there is some national security institutions would be operating like this.
Yeah.
Then this is the point. So like I've been offering you starting from that time and even much sooner. Now people in Artsakh came to this point trying to say that let's get the almighty people in that committee and try to run. It could work, but from another side, who is the judge to say who is mighty, who is not?
Well, I'm mostly concerned about the fact that if there's a resignation of the president of Artsakh, and I'm not sure how likely that is, that replacing it with a commission that is less like a government would degrade the level of sovereignty that Artsakh has established over 30 years.
Let me say that I would be very glad that we'll see today's ruling Artsakh government also feeling the responsibility of sovereignty and not serving to Armenian ruling way.
All right, let's wrap up our topics here. It's time for me to ask each of you if there's something on your mind this past week that you want to talk about. Tevan, do you have anything that's on your mind you want to share?
Artsakh. Without that, by all the point. Serund Foundation, humanitarian aid, raising voice of about Artsakh, talking about blockade. Still, like it's more than 160 days already. Even in our words, we forget about speaking about Artsakh blockade and humanitarian. Sarsang reservoir is drained. I don't know what would be with the electricity in F. Can we imagine how these people are living and fighting for this their life? Now, this is my point that guys, we're forgetting about our real agenda, real issues. That's why if you will say what to add, outside it, not to add, make always number one Artsakh. Because if we will lose Artsakh, we will lose Armenians.
Okay. Hovig, what's on your mind?
Yeah, I'd like to call out a new, sort of relatively new tactic that has been employed by Pashinyan's PR team, which is to gather school children around a campfire and, with Pashinyan assuming the role of a wise, kind teacher, explaining kids different things about politics. He used one of those to attack the church. Another time he challenged the notion of Mount Ararat that all Armenians have, and the importance that Armenians attach to it. We also know that about a month ago, he talked about it in Armenian parliament, where he said Armenians have more pictures of Mount Ararat on their walls than Mount Aragat. And I think that this is relevant because Turkey, from day one of Armenia's independence, has demanded that Armenia remove Mount Ararat from its national emblems. It has also asked to remove any reference to Western Armenia from the Armenian constitution. And I think that's going to be one of the other things that Pashinyan and his team try to do, and that is to remove any reference to Mount Ararat and Western Armenia. First, I believe from Armenian constitution, from Armenian national emblems, and also eventually from history books. Of course, I think it's foolish to believe that they will be successful because most of all, Mount Ararat is a physical land mass. It's a huge rock that cannot be erased, to the displeasure of the perpetrators of the Armenian genocide, modern day Turkish Republic, which is continuing the policy of genocide through denial, and their partners in Yerevan, namely Nikol Pashinyan. Mount Ararat stands tall, and the absence of Armenians on the other side of that mountain is a very clear evidence and smoking gun that no one can erase unless they erase all Armenians. And I believe they'll have a tough time doing that. Maybe they'll succeed in convincing Ararat Mirzoyan to change his name to Aragat Mirzoyan, but that's about it, I think. All of this, the Armenian genocide in 1915 had an effect on the issue of Artsakh. It was part of a larger genocidal campaign, and we know that the perpetrators and subsequent Turkish leaders also tried to solve the issue of Artsakh, of the Armenians of Artsakh, in the same way that they tried to solve the issue of Armenians in Western Armenia. So it's important for us to be cognizant of this fact and not to fall prey to manipulative tactics employed by Pashinyan. But regardless of that, in this case, I don't think mountains can be moved very easily.
All right. We're going to leave it there for today. Thank you, Tevan, for joining us. And thank you, Hovig, for your report from Kornidzor.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you very much, Tevan.
Thank you, Victor.
That's our show this week. We hope you found it helpful. Please follow us on social media. We'll talk to you next week.